Sabko namaste, Jessica here, and welcoming you today from beautiful Uttarakhand. Today I want to talk about the top 10 pro tips of traveling in India. Those of you who know my story, I first came to India 17 years back and pretty much didn't really permanently leave. I live here with my family, my husband and my 2 kids and my in-laws. All of the tips I'm about to share you can find on the Traveler's Guide to India. You can download this PDF on my website, learnhindianywhere.com. So chaliye, let's get into 10 top pro tips for visiting and moving long-term to India. So those of you who have known me for more than 5 minutes will know my number 1 tip is learn the language basics of whatever locality you are going to be in. North India, South India, Northeast India, there are many different languages in India. If you're going to be there for any longer than 1 month, I highly suggest that you learn some of the local language. Even just knowing directions, ways to get around, local areas, names and places of things. This is all common sense. Number 1 is basically the most common sense thing ever. Can you get around with English in India? Absolutely. However, might be tricky in certain places if you're going a little off the beaten path where there might not be as many guidelines in place for tourists. Number 2, knowing how to get around. Nowadays, this is so much easier in India. We have Ola, we have Uber. Back in the day, you used to have to negotiate with the taxi wala or the auto wala, like, meter se chalao bhaiya, and all this and that, and you used to have to flag people down, and now it's so easy. You just get on your app and do that. But they're going to ask you for what's called an OTP. It's really important that you have a working phone and data in the country because everything is done by phone. Like you need to pay for something. If you want to get a taxi, you really need to have data on your phone, and plans can be purchased very cheaply in country. Autos and cycle rickshaws are fun, but if you're going more than like half a kilometer, I wouldn't recommend going really far in a cycle rickshaw. Autos can be fine, but there's so much pollution, it can be a little difficult. Walking, I actually don't recommend in large metros because there's so much pollution, there's not sidewalks, and actually you can get hit by a car. So I know it sounds counterintuitive, but actually I wouldn't recommend just walking around in India. Trains are a great way to go between places. If you're going to need to drive more than like 5 hours by car, I would suggest taking a train if possible. And interstate, it's really fantastic. Flights are also very cheap in India, and so I highly recommend taking a flight. If it's more than like a 6-hour drive, train or flight are both really good options. Number 3, what to wear. This is a tricky one because it's highly dependent on where you are regionally. You cannot go wrong with cotton, loose-fitting clothing for men, for women, for everyone. You really cannot go wrong with that. Now, if you're expected to attend some kind of a ceremony, I would ask the people that you're going to be attending with, what are you wearing, and make sure that you're wearing the same level. It is very easy to underdress in India, especially if you're American or Canadian. We're like the most casual people ever, and you actually have to learn like how to dress up. If you're going to someone's house, you need to kind of dress a little nicer, good material, not cheap material. This took me a long time to figure out. And so ask your host what would be appropriate to wear if you're going to some kind of a function. Otherwise, having good quality material, if for men, having like a little collar or something, or having like a good quality shirt with long pants. A lot of places, men don't wear shorts. Let's talk about ethnic wear. If you're going to India and you're wearing Indian clothes, are you culturally appropriating? It's a fine line. If you get invited to an Indian wedding and everyone's like, oh, please, wear a sari or wear this or wear that, and they're going to take you shopping and they're also wearing the same thing, then you should totally wear it. It makes sense. You're being invited into that. Indians are so invitational. People want others to experience their culture and enjoy their culture. But if you're just going to wear a sari, like roaming around and touring the market just because you think it looks good, that might be a little bit weird. A lot of fancier ethnic wear is for like a specific celebration or purpose. So knowing when to wear that would be good to ask your local host, because clothing is highly situational. It really depends on who you're with, what's your purpose of going there, what's even your age, your status, your professional kind of the reason you're going. Like, I would go touring around in something casual, but if I'm going to a business meeting, I'm going to be wearing like either a nice salwar kameez with like decent embroidery or like a nice, modest Western outfit that's more professional. Let's talk about number 4, guide to food hygiene. I go much more into depth on all of these points in the audio version. And if you want to really get all the information, just download the ultimate travel guide on my website, learnhindianywhere.com. We've heard of Delhi belly. It's not a myth. It's very common. Food hygiene is very important. I don't know anyone who's come to India and not gotten sick. Anyone that's come for more than a month, and most people even after a week, you get sick. 3 things you need to think about. Is my food hot and fresh? Has it been prepared just right in front of me? Number 2, is my food peeled? Like if you're having something that can't be hot, like a cucumber, it needs to be peeled. And number 3, has it been washed thoroughly? And a lot of times, has it been washed with filtered water? That is an important one. The tap water is not drinkable in India. I do not recommend drinking it unless you're going to be living here for again, a year or more. Then you can get used to it. But otherwise, I would not recommend drinking the tap water. Bottled or reverse osmosis. Number 5, people ask a lot about mosquito protections. Let me give you my 2 cents on this, or my 2 rupees on this. I would not recommend taking the anti-malarial drugs that you can get prescribed in the US. First of all, malaria is not that prevalent in every state in India. Where I lived in Bihar, it is very prevalent. However, we still don't take the anti-malarials. They're very hard on your body, and I had hallucinations from them. So I don't find them to be worthwhile. No locals take them. But how do you survive mosquitoes then? There's 3 or 4 ways. Wear long, loose clothing, again, to protect yourself. Watch the morning and around dusk hours. That's when mosquitoes are most active. Wearing bug spray at that time. The big one is using what we call a machardani, or a mosquito net, at night. Very, very important. Number 6, back to the money thing. It's really important that you hoard change. A lot of people do not give change in India. If you're, paying for something with a 500 rupee, this is what you get out of the ATMs most of the time. Most people don't have change. If you're like, oh, I'm buying a, 37 rupee item and you have a 500, no one is going to give you change for that. You're either going to have to use your UPI, which is the payment system with your phone, or you're going to have exact change. And this is going to be a huge pain. So either hoard change whenever you can get it. If you get 100 rupee, a 20 rupee, or this or that, listen to the audio version for more how to do that. Number 7, adjust your hygiene routine. For me, this was something that I didn't really realize. I don't wash my hair. Growing up, I did not wash my hair every day. I don't have very oily hair or skin, so I really hardly washed my hair that much because it didn't get that dirty. In India, if you're living in a city, or if you're living anywhere where there's a lot of dust, you have to wash your hair more frequently. And you really have to bathe every day. For Indians, this is a huge deal. Indians bathe every day without fail. It's not a negotiable thing. So just keep that in mind. Preferably in the morning. A lot of people, it's like a ritualistic thing. As part of your daily process is taking a bath, getting clean. Number 8, this is a very controversial topic, which you can hear more about in the full audio version of this. Being mindful of pests and other dangers. People think, snakes, scorpions, spiders. Yes, those are all there, especially in certain regions of India. But actually, one of the most dangerous things is mosquito, which we already talked about, and stray dogs. Stray dogs can also be very, very dangerous in India. Many of them have rabies. It's very controversial because a lot of people believe that stray dogs should have rights to not be removed, and they should have rights to roam in certain neighborhoods, even if they've been violent or attacked before. Be mindful of this. Number 9, yes is no and no is yes. Understanding the subtle differences between when someone says, oh yes, we'll do it tomorrow, or oh yes, we'll meet in 1 hour. That doesn't always mean the exact, precise thing that they said. In our mind, things in the West particularly, things are very black and white. You're like, yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. It means it'll be done tomorrow. It doesn't mean in a week or 10 days. But in India, things are more flexible. Things are more indirect as well. So you just have to be careful. Someone says, oh, we'll do it tomorrow, or I'll come tomorrow. You have to really clarify with them what time, what this, what that. If you really mean tomorrow, or if they mean something else, you have to kind of ask follow-up questions, and that's really important of indirect communication. More on this in the audio version, and a lot more of it in the download. Number 10, the last one. This is the one that people often ask the most, is India safe for women? I also have another episode entirely on this, number 15. You can check that out, given the link here. Overall, I would say yes, it is, and also it's not. Actually, nowhere is really that safe in the world for women. Even in my own country, in the United States, there are a lot of issues all the time. However, in India, there are definitely more subtle kind of like patriarchal cues. So you have to be aware. I would advise against a couple things: riding an overnight train, walking alone at night, or trekking or hiking alone in remote areas. Like anything in India, being in a group is always best. You have safety in numbers. And of course, if you have men with you, that's always very helpful, like trusted men. Then I would say things are safe. And I highly recommend visiting India. I personally find this to be the most fascinating place on earth. So much diversity, so many different cultures. And so thank you again for watching. Please subscribe and download this download. This is where all this information is from. It's 30 plus pages of packed information. You can download it again on my website, learnhindianywhere.com, the traveler's guide. I have many free downloads also on my site and Hindi courses that you can sign up for. If you're interested in learning Hindi, check out my courses, learnhindianywhere.com. Of course, my Instagram and my YouTube, India with Jessica. I have lots more information there. Chaliye, India ghumne aaye, acha lagega. Namaste. Please come join me at the most incredible place that I feel on earth, India. Jai Hind.